Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tom Baker Show. It is good to be back on PowerTube TV once again. And, of course, wherever you are joining us from and however you are getting the show, we are really happy that you are a part of our show this week. And we've got a good one. We're going to do something a little different here. We're going to talk karting for the first part of the show. I had the chance to go out and be a part of the Cup Karts of North America Spring Nationals. One of their two biggest races of the year is held at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the short road course at Charlotte, not inside the track, but rather just inside the backstretch tunnel. And this was a collaboration that I did with our friends from kartlounge.com and brought to you by Prodigy. We are going to talk about some of the winners, talk about the racing a little bit, and you're going to hear from a few of the winners from Sunday's main events. And we're also going to have Christopher Wakefield, who's a 15-year-old kart racer, as a featured guest here and talk a little bit about his career and his big win on Sunday and where he's going. He is a quickly rising star in the open wheel motorsports realm, so we're excited to have him on. And, of course, we're also going to talk some NASCAR, because why not? Let's start, though, with some coverage from the CKNA Spring Nationals. First of all, if you're not familiar with CKNA or karting in general on short road courses, this particular series is a series for the four-cycle set. These are L206 Briggs four-cycle motors, and there are a number of different divisions, junior, senior, masters, legends, and they had over 420 entries at this thing. It's a big event. Beautiful weather all weekend long, and just had a great time. We're eventually going to get their race director, Keith Champagne, on to talk a little bit more about this style of karting, but it's called sprint karting. And basically, these are short sprint races, 18-minute features, and it's road courses, basically, that are short and under a mile. And so just a lot of fun to watch. So I want to start with talking about a few of the winners here. The first one that we're going to hear from is a young man named Brady Shad. And Brady picked up the win in the first feature of Sunday, which was the junior class. And Brady also won his qualifying, one of his qualifying events on Saturday. I think he got second in the other one. This young man is a really cool young racer, and he had a plan going into Sunday's feature once it started, and you'll hear him talk about it. Let's hear from Brady Shad, the winner of Sunday's juniors race at Charlotte.
Our first feature winner of Sunday Spring Nationals 2025 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway in a thriller. Brady Shad, walk us through the last few laps of that race, back and forth between three or four of you, and you ended up pulling it out. That was incredible to watch. What was it like behind the wheel?
Well, when it was, 4 to go, I think, I went into third, and I was kind of just sitting there. I did not know when to pass at all. So I kind of just sat there for a little bit until I knew it was about to be 2 to go. So I had to make both my moves down the backstretch and 2 corners after the backstretch. And when I did that, I just had to block the entire time. One kart got around me, got back around him, he blocked, went lower than him, got around him. Sam pushed me right from behind, and that's how I did it.
It was incredible. I mean, a race like that, you can't really plan too far ahead, can you? You're kind of reacting the entire time.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. You got a win late yesterday, too, in the qualifying. So great weekend for you. Who helps you make it all happen? Who you want to thank?
My parents, Precision, BJR, Coyote, Lawson. Yeah.
Congratulations, Brady. Plymouth, Wisconsin racer comes here to Charlotte, North Carolina, and knocks down a checkered flag.
I was doing the winter views, as I call them, for Kart Lounge, and so wanted to share a few of these with you. Brady was a big winner on Sunday. He and Sam Tutwiler kind of went back and forth, and Nathan Dupree was the other driver that was involved all weekend running up front and got a win himself in the qualifier on Saturday. A lot of talent in the younger divisions in this form of karting. Now, we then got to the cadet class. This is basically the rookie class. This is the starter class. And again, these drivers are, 6, 7 years old. The driver you're going to hear from now has a familiar last name. It's Kip Knaus. And Kip is the son of legendary NASCAR crew chief Chad Knaus. Now, it should be pointed out that it's not uncommon to find, obviously, these NASCAR personalities. They have kids, they get them into racing, and you're either going into karts, or you're going into quarter midgets, or you're doing, some sort of dirt track racing, maybe at Millbridge. We talk a lot about that. You're going to start seeing more from Millbridge as we go forward. Their season's opening up this week on the dirt with the Outlaw karts and the micros. But in this case, Kip's running the short road course karts, sprint karts, and I watched him run. Now, there were probably 30 karts in this race. I mean, these fields are giant. They'll start 40 karts if they have them, and Kip basically just walked away and won the race. And I happened to be sitting behind where Chad was. And I want to make a point here about these sort of famous people or celebrities and their kids, right? Because we see Chad Knaus and we know him from his body of work in NASCAR, and he was this legendary crew chief. But we also know that Chad was an extremely driven person, right? Worked tons of hours. And, you hear all this sort of, the back and forth and the cheating and all of that, right? But when these guys go to the track with their kids, their dad, and Kip went out and won this race, and the look on Chad's face, he turned around, he put his fists in the air as if he'd just won the race, right? But it wasn't this sort of, look what I did, or, it was just pure, unadulterated, look at that, my kid just won. Isn't that cool, right? Like, it was just this appreciation and all of that. It was great. He went over and of course met Kip at the scales. And here was the cool thing. And this is what really kind of got me about the whole scene that was going on. As soon as Kip got out of the go-kart and got his helmet off, Chad picked him up, gave him a big hug, told him he was proud of him. And then the next thing he told him was, make sure you thank your team. And little Kip proceeded to shake all of the hands of his crew, his tuner and the other people that were around, and say thank you, which is great. So it's just, you see a different side of these people when they're not sort of performing their job, right? And so that was really cool for me to be able to watch Chad. And you're about to hear from 6-year-old Kip Knaus. And mind you, I'm interviewing a 6-year-old here. But there's one answer he gives me that I just found really to be funny. Let's watch.
Kip Knaus got the win here today at Charlotte. Kip, of course, the son of NASCAR legendary crew chief Chad Knaus. Kip, look right into the camera and tell us where you're from.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
And how old are you?
6.
Talk a little bit about that race, buddy. You did good.
Well, it was pretty hard against the 23. The 23 really put up a good race.
He really did, didn't he? So how long have you been doing this stuff?
I don't know, but a pretty long time.
Pretty long time, and I know what your goal probably is, but I want to know who helped you make all this happen, who you want to thank for your success today.
My team, my dad, everybody.
All right, that is Kip Knaus. Congratulations, Kip.
How long have you been doing this? I don't know, but a really long time. He's 6. It's great. So that was a lot of fun. And as we got into the adult classes, the one that really stood out in terms of interviews that I want you to watch is a gentleman named James Perkins. And when the Legends and the Masters go out, these are drivers that are well-experienced racers. But again, this is a form of karting. We're not, there's a lot of talent and a lot of drivers come out of it and move up the ranks. I don't want to underestimate it, but this is unlike two-cycle karting where some of these teams are spending 6 and 7 figures. A lot of these drivers, we have a driver named Todd Barron that will eventually get on the show here. Todd is a surgeon during the week. He specializes in stomach issues, right? He's a doctor. And he goes racing in these karts and just does great. And James Perkins is a guy who is, again, it shows you what it means for these gentlemen to win a big race like Charlotte. Watch James's interview.
Well, James Perkins has got a big smile on his face, and that's because he picked up the win in today's Legends Main at the CKNA Spring Nationals here at Charlotte. James, that was a battle all the way to the end. Talk about that from your point of view, because, boy, that was fun to watch.
Well, first of all, I got an amazing start. I started 9th, and kudos to all of my competitors. They so respectful out there. We just had a great race. We pushed each other. We worked together, took our shots when we had them, and honestly, it was probably the funnest race of my life. I really had a
wow, that's a big statement.
I want to especially thank Todd Bolton, Phil Pignataro. I know they pushed me a bunch that race.
Yep.
So love both those guys, longtime competitors, great friends, and got tons of respect for them. They could have easily won this race too, so I'm just lucky to be there at the end.
What's it like to race these karts here at Charlotte Motor Speedway on this course?
It's this course is like a creature. It just changes all day long with the temperatures. Now we got full sun, and really you just hope to get the right setup at the right time. And I knew that I had the right setup going out there, so I was really excited. I got a perfect start. And then the car just got better and better, and it stayed great. So,
one more time, who do you want to thank?
I want to thank Marshall with LSR, the whole SR team. Katie did our tires all weekend. My son Jed, who he and I do the wrenching together. My wife and my family who allow us to go have fun like this. So just blessed. Thank you.
Happy winner, James Perkins here at Charlotte.
It's just so cool to go in and be a part of racing like that because it's still pure. You don't have all the big corporate involvement. This is just good old-fashioned fun. And in addition to the younger drivers, you've also got a bunch of guys like James that are doing this purely because they love it. And boy, there's just not enough of that in the sport anymore. It seems like we're going to try to bring as much of that to you as we can on the show going forward. And now we get to our feature interview. And Christopher Wakefield is a 15-year-old racer, but don't assume that Christopher is one of these drivers who, has all the bank he needs to go to the top. Christopher is a racer who's learning to be a racer and learning how to do the media and all of that stuff. Christopher, first year with the Coyote group that he's racing with now, which is a team that you're going to be hearing a lot more about, I think, on this show because just some of the best talent in karting under the Coyote banner now. But Christopher is a 15-year-old from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, who, in addition to his karting, has another type of racing that he does that's very much team-oriented that he's going to talk about. So let's hear from one of Sunday's big winners in the senior class, Christopher Wakefield. We are talking now with Christopher Wakefield from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Christopher is a 15-year-old high school student who happens to also have just won a major race during the Cup Karts North America Spring Nationals at Charlotte Motor Speedway over this past weekend. Christopher is a rising star in the sport who also does a bit of a form of racing for his school. So let's get right to it. First of all, Christopher, talk a little bit about the big win at Charlotte Senior Medium on Sunday afternoon. Spring Nats are a huge event, and racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway, I'm sure, is huge. Just talk a little bit about what that was about, because that was a great race between about 3 of you right to the end.
Yeah, it's always great to be there at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We it was my first big weekend with the new team with the Coyote chassis and the Precision Performance Karting with BGR as well. And but to come away with a win like that with my teammate coming in second, it was really fun, and I really enjoyed every moment of that weekend.
For those who aren't real familiar with the type of karting that you do, the sprint kart type of karting, can you talk a little bit about what that's about and the type of courses and all of that, and the carts, the motors? Just give us a minute of kind of what all that's about.
Right, so the sprint carts they're like open wheel. They have the side pods, and we're kind of out in the open. We're not in a cage, and there's a lot of wind going against us, so it's a lot of wind resistance as well, which plays a large factor. So when you're behind somebody, you have that big slipstream, which will help you go faster down the straights. And in the karting tracks, it's like in Charlotte, you have the little kart tracks inside the actual like NASCAR track,
Yeah.
the oval. And those are always cool to race at. Like at Daytona, they have one like that. But then you also have the dedicated sprint tracks across the country and across the world, where you have whole facilities dedicated to the sprint racing, where it's kind of like a miniature IndyCar tracks, where it's just you got a lot of tight corners and braking zones, but you also have the fast sweepers.
Yeah, short road course type racing. Four cycle motors, 6 Briggs motors are the ones that the CKNA uses, and it is a comparatively economical form of racing karts as compared to the 2 cycles and the shifters and so forth, but just a ton of fun to watch. And I think honestly a great education for those who start out in it and climb through the junior ranks. You're up into now the seniors, so getting a win like that with so many of the top drivers in the class in the race with you. I mean, I know that was a huge statement for you, but what was it like to actually be able to pull off the win?
Yeah, it's sort of like a dream. I still can't really believe it, but going that in the race is kind of like a flow state. I just got in that that rhythm with Christian McKeith and my teammate who helped me along, and also James Overbeck and a couple other my teammates. We all sort of just had a game plan and we went in there, and it's really you just have to have like a perfect race if you want to win one of these big races. And sometimes like if you have one mistake, that'll take you out of the contention for the win. I was able to pull off sort of one of my best races, and I was able to really do well with the team.
Yeah, it was a great race to watch, and it seems like, I mean, Coyotes really got the act together right now, and they've got some of to me, the hottest talent in karting riding on their stuff now, and there were 3 of you competing for the win there. What's it been like working with the folks from Coyote?
It's great. I came over in the beginning of 2025, and we started at Daytona, and we're just sort of like dialing the chassis in, and I think bring all this new talent in with some junior drivers coming up to senior as well. Coyote really has their stuff organized, and I would say one of the best, if not the best team in karting right now, because we just have all these drivers like me, Chris McKeith, and James Oberg, and Katie Yeager and Lucas Tech. We have just like all the names in the book, all the podium finishes of the biggest races, and we're a force to be reckoned with.
Well, for sure. I mean, I think that spoke very loudly at Charlotte over the weekend. What have you got? What is your season going to consist of from a karting standpoint from here?
Right. So by a karting standpoint, I'd be doing a bunch of the CKNA stuff, maybe the IKF Grand Nationals. That's the International Karting Federation. And I won the Duffy, which is like the first place.
Oh wow!
Yeah, last year I got it in the junior category, so I'll try to get a repeat this year, and then I think that the Coyote team will also go down to Canada for Canadian Nationals, and then we'll see if there's a few other races like TSRS, mostly stuff in the country, but we'll do some stuff in Canada as well.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. So you're going to be busy with the karting, and that's great. But that's not the only form of racing that you're doing. You're also doing really well at the Lucas Oil Racing School events. Talk a little bit about what that is for those who aren't familiar.
Yeah, so the Lucas Oil Racing Series is sort of this step up from karting, where karting drivers go up there try to prove their point in cars, and it's where you learn to develop these skills that you need when you go higher up in the car racing industry. So you really learn all the types of skills that you need if you want to have some good racecraft and race against some of the best drivers in the world. Currently, I'm doing quite well in that championship, so I'm in contention to win. We're going to next 2 weeks from now. I'll be doing the last rounds of the championship, and if you win or you podium, you get some sponsorship money to go into a form of racing. So like USF juniors or in the ladder up to IndyCar.
Yep, that's awesome. And you're leading right now, right? You're leading the standings.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. 15 years old, and you've really got it going on. Maybe a lesser known fact about Christopher Wakefield is that when Christopher is not racing a go-kart or an open wheel single-seater car, he's actually competing on a boat. Talk about what you do for after-school activities, because I think this is pretty cool and you don't see this very often.
Yeah, I rode boats competitively when I'm not racing cars or karts. Usually in the weekends, I'm racing boats, and it's a lot of dedication. I wake up every morning before school. I go down to the gym and I do the rowing as well. And then after school, I work with the school team, and we do the rowing there. And we're kind of in the development part of our phase. So a bunch of kids like my age, we still have 2 more years of high school, and we're all training together. And I feel like next year or the year after that, we're going to be one of the top competitor in the nation.
Well, now how did you get into that? Because that's not something that everybody gets the chance to do. Obviously, you're in an area where they feature it, but what made you decide to do that, and talk about what that is? Is there anything from that other than maybe the physical conditioning that is actually translatable to what you do at or on the track?
Yeah, so I started a couple years ago in 6th grade, and it teaches you about like dedication and kind of getting into that, even when you're in so much like physical pain. It teaches you to get into that flow state, and you really have to concentrate on that one thing. And it's just doing your job pretty like well and smooth. And to do well in rowing, you have to be super conditioned, like you said. So it really helps with karting and cars as well. It conditions me really well, and it also just keeps my concentration. So even when I'm in the most painful scenarios, I guess I've learned to keep my concentration, keep that like flow state where you just have to do your own race and then it'll come back up to you.
The other aspect to that, though, is rowing is a team sport,
Yeah.
which is really
Yeah.
interesting. So the teamwork aspect and learning to communicate with team members can't be understated either here, right?
Yeah, you have to have you're with 8 other guys or girls in a boat, and with one person sort of giving you commands about the race. So it's really teaches you about communication and a game plan, and you just have to stick to it. And stuff can happen. Somebody could mess up the stroke because you have to be perfectly aligned in rowing. Like you have to be super connected. And if somebody goes and puts their blade in the water half second before you do, you'll go a lot slower because it's not all connected. So it really teaches you about communication and just that mind connection, sort of being able to read other people's minds, which helps a lot in racing as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. It sounds like a lot of fun too. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
neat opportunity for you. Okay, what's your goal in motorsports? Where are you trying to get to with your racing?
I'm trying to climb up the ladder right now, so moving up to this is like the transition year, so moving up to cars with this Lucas Oil series. I'm going to be trying to win that and then get some sponsorship money to go into cars. So, but like USF 2000s, USF juniors, and then
Okay.
hopefully going up to the Indy road.
Okay.
Um,
So ultimately, your goal is IndyCar.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's obviously that I think for every young American who is in your form of karting, I think it's either F1 or Indy, and it seems much more obtainable to reach the Indy peak than the F1 peak. But both are obviously great goals to have. So when you're not racing and you're not rowing, what are you all about?
I just like to have fun, like anything that sort of keeps my mind going. And I'm a really creative guy, so I love doing anything like new, really. And so when I'm hanging out with my friends or studying, I do a lot of my school's pretty tough on me because I'm missing so much class time. I'm always on the books trying to keep up with my work. So it's really just it takes a lot of control to balance all these things, but I think I'm able to do it because I've done it for a couple years now.
So the same focus you put into, say, rowing or, getting better at racing, you can put into the schoolwork. So whatever you're doing, you're kind of in that flow, right?
Yeah, everything I do sort of teaches me one aspect of life, and whether it be rowing or car racing, everything sort of just or like studying. You have to do a lot of data analysis for cars to make sure you're on point with the braking zones. Um, it really all sort of contributes to the success you're going to get in cars, and yeah.
That's fun. Well, I know you can't do all this by yourself, Christopher. So tell
No,
us who helped you make it happen, who you want to thank.
yeah, my family has definitely been the biggest part of it. They support me my whole life. Even when I like started, I'm just going to the track after school and just doing laps. That's basically what drove me to my success so far. And also the team Coyote, the Coyote chassis, they've put a lot of trust into me with this new year coming up. We've already had a bit of success in Charlotte, and we're looking to do more of that in the PPK team and also Lawson Motors in the engines, and also Tremec as a big sponsor for me. So, yes.
Well, Christopher, it's great to catch up with you and learn a little bit more about you. Congratulations on a huge win at the
Thank
CKNA
you.
Spring Nats at Charlotte. I know that was a great way to start the season, and we wish you the best in all of your racing endeavors in 2025.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That was Christopher Wakefield, a young man I think you're going to be hearing a lot more about in the future in the open wheel circles. He's on his way, hopefully, to a Lucas Oil School Series championship as we speak. With that, we are going to step aside. When we come back, it is time to talk NASCAR. This coverage of the CKNA has been brought to you by Kart Lounge. If you want more great karting content, make sure you go and visit kartlounge.com. We'll be back with more of the show after this.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
For over 50 years, FHS Superior Synthetic Oil has powered high-performance engines with unbeatable protection and speed. Whether it's drag racing, go-karts, sprint cars, stock cars, or your daily driver, FHS stands for high speed and delivers every time. Their advanced synthetic oils boost your engine's responsiveness, acceleration, and efficiency, giving you the winning edge on every lap. Visit FHSoil.com today to find the right products for your engine. FHSoil.com.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Welcome back to the show. It's time to talk NASCAR, and we got a hot topic coming up shortly that I want to talk about that it kind of came as a result of Sunday's Cup race. But let's start with the Xfinity Series on Saturday. This race was it wasn't great. It was okay. Nothing super exciting to talk about except for the ending, where Eric Almirola basically, in his own words, used up NASCAR Cup Series regular Alex Bowman, who is moonlighting down in the lower series and trying to get himself a win at Phoenix, which is a track, you will remember, that he showed his talent at all the way back when he was subbing for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Cup car. And the end of the race, Almirola was determined, basically, that he was going to win this race. And I think he had a plan from jump here on this restart. Almirola and Bowman getting together a couple of different times. Eric's happy running for Joe Gibbs, right? And I think it's excited him about racing again. And as you can see, a lot happens at Phoenix on a restart, which I don't know if I love that you can go all the way basically down to the apron or not. But I will have to admit, of course, that it makes for real excitement on the restart. Bowman's the leader at this point, and Bowman's on his way to a win, right? Well, not quite. So you've got the 19 of Almirola, and he's going to drop to the bottom. Now, again, you have so much room on these tracks, and especially here at Phoenix, I feel like, where you're able to run and almost stay away from other cars. But a lot of times you get down to the bottom and the car breaks loose like it did there. And what a finish, right? I have no issue with what Eric did there. It wasn't as if he was trying to take him out, but I think the car just got loose underneath him more so than anything Eric intended to do. But he did say that he was he was going to use up Bowman a little bit and do what he had to do to win. So Eric Almirola gets himself a win in the Xfinity race. One note about the Xfinity series, new points leader in the series coming out of Phoenix, Jesse Love. And again, I'm telling you, he's got a chance to make a deep run at the championship this year, and I believe he will. But Almirola gets the win in Xfinity. Now, we get to the Cup Series. And again, not a whole lot of controversy here, except for a little incident that involved Joey Logano, right? I don't know. When I first saw it, and I saw that NASCAR made the call, I didn't really have an issue with it. Well, maybe a little, right? But you got to give NASCAR something here. Here's the problem. All year long so far, we've been talking about the issue of NASCAR being inconsistent with calls. You heard a lot of talk this week from drivers about NASCAR calling balls and strikes. The issue here is Logano being below the line before he gets to the start-finish line. That's a no-no. You can't do that. Now, Carson Hocevar also below the line. However, NASCAR called a strike for Logano and a ball for Carson Hocevar. Now, again, us media, why do you care what we think anyway, right? Well, we're in disagreement about this. Okay, Dale Earnhardt Jr., why are you picking on Joey over about 12 inches, a foot or whatever? Like it isn't an advantage. TJ Majors disagreed with Jr. on his podcast. It is an advantage to shorten the track. And here's my thing with this. This to me is exactly like the call that they made, or the non-call that they made to suspend Cindric for the Coda incident. This is the same situation. You have two cars here, both of which went below the line. You called Joey Logano, and then Brad Moran from NASCAR goes on radio and says the reason they didn't call Hocevar, well, he was just following the leader. What? I mean, how can you flag one and not the other? NASCAR shoots themselves in the foot every time with these calls, because it's not even that they're just not trying to be inconsistent. They purposefully were inconsistent here. Call one, not the other. Look, you can't, Somebody made a great analogy with this. Okay, let's go to the NFL. Okay, a receiver's right foot is just barely over the white line and out of bounds. Oh, well, we'll let that one go. He wasn't that far. Right? Like, how can you not call this? You have to be black and white, and this is the problem. NASCAR insists on playing in the gray, and I don't get it. I mean, this is an easy call to me. You have to call Joey on it. You have to call Carson on it. You can't call Joey and not Carson. So pick your poison. Okay, it's just insanity to me. So every week now, NASCAR is giving us something. And it's because I feel like they're all not on the same page themselves at this point. It was interesting. However, had nothing to do with the outcome of the race. At the end of the day, I believe that Hamlin and Bell were the two cars that were going to be fighting for the win. And Chris Bell ends up getting the three-peat, nipping Denny Hamlin at the line. Again, great finish. This 20 team is on fire. I mean, and really Joe Gibbs Racing is on fire at this moment. And the thing I love about this more than anything else is that the one thing that changed with Joe Gibbs Racing over the winter was that they basically took the leash off the drivers. Ty Gibbs is going to be making his high limits sprint car debut. Ty Gibbs in a 410 sprint car. Okay, this to me is going to be a huge year for these guys. Like, let them go have fun. We see what it does for Kyle Larson, and we see how it actually makes him a better driver. And I mean, right now, I feel like Chris Bell is just a completely different Chris Bell. From a mental standpoint, the leash came off, and Chris is so excited about racing again that, I mean, you just see it in his performance level. It's off the charts. I mean, this 3 in a row, this is not a common thing in NASCAR's Cup Series. We do have, by the way, a winner view for Chris Bell. So let's hear from him.
What a battle at the end. Christopher Bell wins his 3rd race in a row. You had a dominant car for the majority of the day, but it did not come without some drama at the end of the race, having to race your teammate Denny Hamlin. How in the world did you get that one done? Side by side across the line.
How about that one, race fans? Woo! Oh my gosh, man. That was about as whenever you're sitting there dreaming it up, that's about as ugly as it gets. You put the red tires on, you're like, all right, what I don't want to happen is go like 20, 30 laps and get a yellow. Then that happened. Then we went like 10 more laps, we had another yellow, and it was just all about who could get clear on the restart. Neither of us could, and we were just racing really, really hard there coming to the line, and JGR ran 1-2, how about that?
Christopher Bell wins his 3rd in a row in a thriller at Phoenix.
The way they were showing Hamlin just listening to the interview and staring, you would have thought that something was going to come out of that, but it didn't. Okay, so again, big win for Chris Bell, 3 in a row. Joe Gibbs Racing is on fire right now, and I love seeing these guys going out and racing other stuff. Okay, now, quickly, hot topic for the week. The big controversy, Catherine Legge made her NASCAR Cup Series debut driving for BJ McLeod. She's 44 years old. This woman has the current Indy 500 record for fastest qualifying female. She has 3 wins in Formula Atlantic, numerous IndyCar starts, several top 10 finishes. She's competed in the Rolex. She's competed in IndyCar, NASCAR's Xfinity Series, the ARCA Series. Okay, she was one of the drivers of the Delta Wing in IMSA for a couple of years before they banned it. Look, she is well qualified to race a high horsepower car. Now, on Sunday, she spun early. And then later in the race, she got loose and came up and took out Daniel Suarez. Now, again, You know, everybody's saying she had no business being in the race, not qualified. You know, she isn't good enough, whatever. It's like, well, Kevin Harvick said on his podcast that Cup cars are hard to drive and not just anybody should be allowed to race them. Okay, why? Because she took out Daniel Suarez? I mean, I'm all for having strict qualification processes, like, you know, you have to have done A, B, and C. Let's start in Xfinity and proving your worth or whatever. But here's my problem. How do you get qualified for racing this Cup car? It is a GT car. It is nothing like Xfinity, nothing like ARCA. There is nothing other than Australian supercars that you can race that's a common type of car. So if NASCAR wants to impose some sort of a qualification or required qualification process, I don't have a problem with that. But the first thing they better do at that point is get rid of this ridiculous provisional for stars that they created at the beginning of the year, where we got to see Helio Castroneves crash about 6 times at Daytona. I don't honestly, you can't stop Catherine Legge without stopping Helio and anyone else. You have to, that whatever process you're going to impose here, and this is what I would challenge Kevin Harvick to tell us, what is that process? And every driver has to go through it. You can't make exceptions. The problem wasn't that Catherine Legge isn't a good race car driver. Okay, it's her first time in Cup. It's Phoenix. It's a short track. How are you going to deny her the opportunity to race in the Cup Series on a short track? Okay, where? A road course is okay? I mean, how do we do this? I'm all for the concept of stricter qualifications. But honestly, that doesn't stop the experienced driver like Ross Chastain from pulling the bonehead move he pulled on lap 0 at COTA 2 weeks ago, right? Does Ross need to go back to class here? I mean, Catherine Legge being in the race didn't bother me at all. It's a shame she didn't have a better day, but she's not great equipment. No disrespect to BJ. She's just not. So I'm not blaming the equipment for her mistakes on the track, but there's really no way to learn in a car that acts and reacts like the Cup car. So I just want to see what everybody thinks should be the qualification and how you get there. And that's the show for today. For more exclusive content, go to steeringwheelnation.com. Follow us on our Facebook and Instagram at The Wheel Nation, or just type Steering Wheel Nation into the search bar. And of course, our streaming channel on PowerTube TV. And we'll look forward to next week's Tom Baker Show. Much more content about Millbridge coming up. That's opening week, and we are going to be ready for it. Until next time, I'm Tom Baker. Thanks for watching and have a great week, everybody.